January 5th, 1900, Volume 3, Effects of Sin and of Confession. As I was in my usual state, I felt I was going outside of myself, and I found my adorable Jesus. But oh, how full of sins I saw myself before his presence. In my interior, I felt a strong desire to make my confession to our Lord. And so turning to him, I began to tell my sins, and Jesus was listening to me. When I finished speaking, turning to me with a face full of sadness, he told me, "My daughter, sin is a poisonous and deadly embrace to the soul, if it is grave, and not only to her, but also to all the virtues present in the soul. If then it is venial, it is a wounding embrace, which renders the soul very weak and infirm, and together with her the virtues which she had acquired also become infirm. What a deadly weapon sin is! Sin alone can wound and give death to the soul. Nothing else can harm her. Nothing else but sin alone renders her opprobrious and odious before me." While he was saying this, I comprehended the ugliness of sin, and I felt such pain that I cannot even express it. And Jesus, seeing me all contrite, raised his blessed right hand and pronounced the words of the absolution. Then he added, "Just as sin wounds and gives death to the soul, so does the sacrament of confession give life, heal the wounds, and give back vigor to virtues. And this more or less according to the dispositions of the soul, so does the virtue of the sacrament operate." It seemed to me that my soul had received new life. I no longer felt the bother of before, after Jesus gave me the absolution. May the Lord be always thanked and glorified. January 5th, 1901, Volume 4. The humanity of Jesus was made on purpose to obey and to destroy disobedience. Luisa refreshes Jesus. As I was outside of myself, I saw the confessor placing the intention of the crucifixion. I was afraid to submit myself, but Jesus told me, "What can I do? I cannot help obeying, because my humanity was made on purpose to obey, and to destroy disobedience. This virtue is so grafted within me that it can be said that obedience is nature in me, and the distinction dearest and most glorious to me. So much so, that if my humanity did not have this of its own, I would abhor it. I would never have united myself to it. You, then, want to disobey? You can do it, but you will do it yourself. I won't." All confused in seeing a God so obedient, I said, "I too want to obey." And I submitted myself, and Jesus shared with me the pains of the cross. After this he transported me outside of myself, and blessed Jesus gave me a kiss. As he was doing this, a bitter breath came out, and he was in the act of wanting to pour his bitternesses, but he did not do it because he wanted to be told by me to do it. Immediately I said, "Do you want some reparation? Let us do it together. In this way my reparations, united to yours, will have the effects of yours, for if I do them on my own, I believe they will disgust you more." So I took his hand, dripping with blood, and kissing it, I recited the Laudate Dominum, praise the Lord, with the Gloria Patri, glory be. Jesus one part, I the other, to repair for the many evil works that are committed, placing the intention of praising him as many times for as many offenses as he receives because of evil works. How moving it was to see Jesus praying. Then I continued to do the same to the other hand, placing the intention of praising him as many times for as many offenses as he receives because of sins of causes. Then his feet, with the intention of praising him as many times for as many evil steps and as many wrong paths which are covered, even under the appearance of piety and sanctity. Lastly, his heart, with the intention of praising him for as many times as the human heart does not palpitate, does not love, and does not desire God. My beloved Jesus seemed all refreshed by these reparations done together with him, but he was not yet content. It seemed he wanted to pour. So I said to him, Lord, if you want to pour, I pray you do it. So he poured his bitternesses, and then he added, My daughter, how much men offend me, but the time will come when I will chastise them in such a way that many little worms will come out, which will produce clouds of mosquitoes that will render them greatly oppressed. Then afterwards the Pope will come out. And why will the Pope come out? And he will come out to console the peoples, because oppressed, tired, crushed, betrayed by so many lies, they themselves will look for the harbor of truth, and all humiliated, they will ask the Holy Father to come into their midst to free them from so many evils and place them in the harbor of safety. And I, Lord, will this perhaps happen after the wars you have spoken about the other times? And he, Yes. And I, how I wish I could come before these things happen. And he, And where would I go to stay then? Ah, Lord, there are so many good souls in whom you can stay, such that in comparing myself to them, oh, how cattiva, meaning bad, I see myself. But not paying attention to me, Jesus disappeared, and I returned inside myself. January 5th, 1903, Volume 4. Freedom is necessary in order to recognize the good and the evil. This morning I felt almost free of sufferings. I myself did not know what to do when I felt I was outside of myself, and I saw people from our country who, in addition to the words and the calumnies they had spoken, were plotting to come to deeds. In the meantime I saw blessed Jesus, and I said, Lord, you give too much liberty to these infernal men. Up until now it has been about infernal words, but now they want to reach the point of laying hands on your ministers. Bind them and have compassion on them, and at the same time defend those who belong to you. And he, Daughter, this freedom is necessary in order to recognize the good and the evil. Know, however, that I am tired of man, so tired that I share it with you. In fact, when you feel that tiredness of this state of victim, and almost the will to go out of it, this comes to you from me. And I warn you to be attentive not to put your will in, for I am looking for the will of the creature to lean on it and chastise the rebels. But let us try again. I will make you suffer, and they will be left without strength and will not be able to do anything of what they want. Who can say what I suffered and how many times he renewed my crucifixion? And while doing this, raising his hand toward heaven, he told me, My daughter, I did not make man for the earth, but for heaven. His mind, his heart, and everything that his interior contains were to exist in heaven. Had he done this, he would have received the influence of the most holy Trinity within his three powers, and it would have been copied within himself. But since he occupies himself with earth, he receives mud, rot, and the whole bilge of vices that the earth contains. January 5th, 1907, Volume 7. True sanctity consists of receiving anything that may happen to us as a specialty of divine love. Having read about a soul who had scruples about everything, and who feared that everything might be sin, I was thinking to myself, and I? How lax I am! I too would like to think that everything may be sin, so as to be more attentive not to offend the Lord. Then when blessed Jesus came, he told me, "My daughter, this is nonsense," and the soul remains stuck on the path of sanctity, while true and solid sanctity consists of receiving anything which may happen to her, or which she may be doing, be it even the most indifferent thing, has a specialty of divine love, just as it would be if she found a food enjoyable or disgusting. A specialty of love in the enjoyment, thinking that it is Jesus that produces that enjoyment in the food, and that he loves her to the point of giving her pleasure even in material things. A specialty of love in the disgust, thinking that he loves her so much as to produce that disgust for her, in order to make her similar to himself in mortification, giving her, himself, a little coin that she can offer to him. A specialty of divine love if she is humiliated, if she is exalted, if she is healthy, if she is infirm, if she is poor or rich. A specialty of love, her breathing, her sight, her speech, everything, everything. And just as she must receive everything, everything as a specialty of divine love, she must give everything back to God as a special love of hers. So she must receive the wave of the love of God, and must give to God the wave of her love. Oh, what a sanctifying bath is this wave of love! It purifies her, it sanctifies her, it makes her advance without her realizing it. It is a life more of heaven than of earth. This is what I want from you. Sin, and the thought of sin, must not exist in you. January 5th, 1912, Volume 10. Jesus renders himself the debtor of the soul. Effects of continuous prayer. Having read in my writings that when blessed Jesus deprives us of himself, he becomes our debtor, I was thinking to myself, if Jesus counts all the privations and the huffs and the peaks what I must take, especially in these times, who knows how many debts he has made with me? But I fear that if my state is not his will, instead of making him the debtor, I may render myself his debtor. And Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, I am really looking at what you do, whether you shift, whether you change your way. As long as you do not shift, be sure that I keep signing new debts. Your waiting, your tolerance and perseverance provide me with the bill on which I put my signatures. But if you did not do so, first, I would not know where to put my signatures. Second, you would have no document in hand to be able to collect these debts. And if you wanted to be paid, I would answer you frankly, I do not know you. Where are the documents that I am your debtor? You would remain confused. It is true that I make myself the debtor when I deprive one of my presence, of sensible grace. But this, when my wisdom disposes so, and they do not give me the occasion to deprive them of me. But when they do give me the occasion, or when they are not faithful or do not wait for me after I deprive them of myself, then instead of I becoming their debtor, they are the ones who make themselves the debtors. If I make a debt, I have something from which to pay, and I remain always what I am. But if you do it, how will you pay me? Therefore be attentive, at your place, in your state of victim, in whatever way I keep you, if you want to make me your debtor. I said to him, Who knows, O Jesus, how Father is doing, since he was not feeling well? Today I have not remembered him continuously before you, as I did the day before yesterday. And Jesus, he keeps feeling more relieved, because when you pray me continuously, I feel the strength of the prayer, and it almost prevents me from making him feel more suffering. With time, as this continuous prayer ceases, this strength keeps dissolving, and I am left free to make him suffer more. January 5th, 1921, Volume 12. The true life of the soul done in the divine will is nothing other than the formation of her life in the life of Jesus. Continuing in my usual state, I was praying, and while praying I intended to enter the divine will. And so, making all that exists in the divine will my own, since nothing escapes it, past, present, and future, and making myself crown of all, in the name of all I brought my homage, my love, my reparation, and so forth, before the divine majesty. Now my always lovable Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, that true life of the soul done in my will is nothing other than the formation of her life in mine, giving my own shape to everything she does. I did nothing but make all the acts I did, both interior and external, fly within my will. I made each thought of my mind fly, and flying over every thought of creature, which all existed in my will, my thought, flying over all, became almost crown of each human intelligence, and brought the homage, the adoration, the glory, the love, the reparation of each created thought to the majesty of the Father. The same with my gaze, my word, my motion, my step. Now, in order to live in my will, the soul must give the shape of my mind to her mind, the shape of my gaze, of my word, of my motion to hers. And by doing this, she loses her shape and acquires mine. She does nothing other than give continuous deaths to the human being and continuous life to the divine will. In this way, the soul will be able to complete the life of my will within herself. Otherwise, this prodigy, this shape fully modeled on mine, will never be accomplished completely. Only my will, which is eternal and immense, allows her to find everything. It reduces the past and the future to one single point, and in this one point she finds all the beating hearts, all the living minds, all of my works in act. And the soul, making my will her own, does everything, satisfies for all, loves for all, and does good to all and to each one as if all were one. Who can ever reach such extent? No virtue, no heroism, not even martyrdom can stand before my will. All remain behind the works done in my will. Therefore be attentive and let the mission of my will have its fulfillment in you. January 5th, 1922, Volume 13. The divine being is led by an irresistible force to communicate itself to the creature. Jesus cannot bear seeing a soul who lives in his will afflicted because of him. I was feeling very embittered, and my Jesus, on coming, clasping all of me to himself, told me, "My daughter, your affliction weighs upon my heart more than if it were my own. I cannot bear that you be so embittered, and I want to see you happy at any cost. I want to see the smile that the beatitude of my will brings arise on your lips again. Tell me, then, what do you want so that I may render you happy again? Is it possible that after so much time in which you have denied me nothing, I should not give you what you want and make you content?" And I, "My love, what I want is that you give me the grace to always, always do your will. This is enough for me. How much I fear that I may not do it. Isn't this the greatest misfortune? not doing your will, even in the tiniest thing? Yet your proposals, your very attentions induce me to this, because I see that you want to do my will, not because this is your will, but because you want to make me happy and empty my heart of the bitterness which it is as though soaked. Now, Jesus, do not permit this. If you want to make me happy, your power does not lack other means to take me away from my affliction. And Jesus, my daughter, daughter of my will, no, do not fear. It will never be that our wills be even just injured. If a miracle is necessary, I will do it, but our wills will never separate. Therefore calm yourself on this regard and be cheered. Listen, my being is led by an irresistible force to communicate itself to the creature. I have many more things to tell you yet, many more truths which you do not know. All of my truths carry the happiness that each one contains, and as many truths as the soul knows, so many different happinesses she acquires. Now, in finding your heart embittered, they feel their happinesses being shaded, and they cannot communicate themselves freely. I am like a happy father who possesses the fullness of the whole of happiness and wants to make all of his children happy. Now, if he sees that one of his children really love him, and he sees him sad, pensive, at any cost he wants to make his child happy and to free him from that embarrassment. And if the father knows that the sadness is caused by the love that the child has for him, then he cannot give himself peace. He uses all of his arts and makes any sacrifice to render his child happy. So I am. And since I know that your affliction is because of me, if I do not see you come back again to your state of joy and be marked with my own happiness, I will make myself unhappy, waiting for you to return into the arms of my happiness. January 5th, 1923, Volume 15. Jesus prays that his will be one with the will of the soul. The divine will must be like the air that one breathes. Attentiveness is the way to knowledge. Continuing in my usual state, I could hear my adorable Jesus praying in my interior, saying, "My Father, I pray you that our will be one with the will of this little daughter of our volition. She is a legitimate birth from our will. Oh, please, for the honor and decorum of our eternal will, let it be so that nothing may come out of her which is not a birth from our volition, and that she may know nothing but our will. And in order to obtain this, I offer you all the acts of my humanity done in our adorable will." Afterwards he remained in deep silence, and I don't know how, felt so transfused in the acts that my Jesus had done in the divine will, that I kept following them, one by one, doing my own united with his. This made me absorb so much light that Jesus and I remained immersed in a sea of light. And Jesus, coming out from within my interior, standing up, with his soles on the place of my heart, and waving his hand, which, more than sun, sent forth light, cried out loudly, "Come, come all of you, angels, saints, pilgrim souls, all generations, come and see the portents and the greatest miracle never before seen, my will operating in the creature." At the sonorous, melodious, and powerful voice of Jesus, which filled heaven and earth, the heavens opened, and all ran around Jesus and looked at me to see how the divine will was operating. All remained enraptured and thanked Jesus for such a great excess of his goodness. I remained confused and humiliated to the summit, and I said to him, "My love, what are you doing? It seems that you want to show me to everyone, to let everyone point at me. What repugnance I feel! And Jesus, Ah, my daughter, it is my will that I want everyone to know and to point at, as new heaven and means of new regeneration, and you will remain as though buried in my will. My will must be like the air that one breathes, which, while it cannot be seen, can be felt. It cannot be seen, and it gives life. It penetrates everywhere, even into the most intimate fibers, to give life to each beat of the heart. Wherever it enters, into darkness, into the abysses, into the most secret receptacles, it constitutes itself life of everything. In the same way, my will be more than air within you, which coming out of you will constitute itself life of everything. Therefore be more attentive, and follow the will of your Jesus, because attentiveness will make you know where you are and what you are doing. Knowledge will make you appreciate and esteem more the divine royal palace of my will. Suppose that someone finds himself in the royal palace of a king, and that he does not know that that residence belongs to the king. He will have no appreciation. He might even walk distractedly, talking, laughing, nor will he dispose himself to receive the gifts of the king. But if he knew that that is the royal palace of the king, he would look at things with attention and would appreciate them. He would walk on tiptoe, speak in a low voice, be all eyes to see whether the king comes out of some room, and would put himself as though in waiting to receive great gifts from the king. See, attentiveness is the way to knowledge, and knowledge changes a person, as well as things, disposing him to receive great goods. So, by knowing that you are in the royal palace of my will, you will always receive, and will take so much as to be able to give to all of your brothers. January 5th, 1936. Volume 34. One who lives in the divine volition forms the little life of the divine will in the creature. How she becomes loved again and with doubled love by God. My little and poor will feels the extreme need of the divine volition. Without it I feel myself fasting, without strength, without heat, and without life. Rather, I feel death at every instant because there is lacking to me the one who can substitute to nourish his life in me. Therefore I keep repeating, I am hungry. Come, O divine will, to give me your life in order to satiate me. Otherwise I die. But while I was delirious because I wanted to feel in myself the fullness of the divine will, my sweet Jesus, repeating for me his brief little visit, all goodness, told me, My blessed daughter, your deliriums, your hunger that feels the extreme need that you feel you want to feel the life of my will in every instant, are wounds to my heart. They are rents of love that, ravishing me, make me run, fly, in order to come to make the life of my will grow in you. You must know that, as the creature wants to do my will, in order to live and send forth her acts in it, she calls her Creator, who feels himself called by the power of his own volition in the creature, that it is not given to resist or to place the least delay. Rather, since we never let ourselves be conquered in love, as we see that she is about to call us, we give her no time. We call her, and she runs in our divine being as in her own center. She casts herself into our arms, and we clasp her to us so much as to transform her into us. A perfect accord happens between Creator and creature, and so much is our emphasis of love that we love her with new and doubled love. But this is not enough. We give her such communication about our Supreme Being as to make ourselves loved by her with new and doubled love. And if you knew what it means to be loved by God with new and doubled love, and to be able to love with new and doubled love, only in our divine will are there these marvels and prodigies. God loves himself in the creature. Everything is his. Therefore there is no marvel that he places in the field his always new love. He doubles it, he multiplies it as 100-fold, however much he wants, and he gives grace to her to make her love with his own love. If this could not be, one would see great disparity between the one who can love and the one who cannot love, and the poor creature would remain humble, annihilated, without impetus and union of love with her Creator. And when two beings cannot love each other with equal love, the inequality already produces unhappiness, while our will is unity, and freely it gives its love to the creature in order to let her love. It gives its sanctity in order to make her holy, its wisdom in order to make itself known. There is nothing that it possesses that it would not want to give to her. More so because, by living in our fiat, since she has set aside her will in order to give life to ours in her acts, she has formed the little life of our volition in hers that demands, longs for growth. And one additional act in it is enough in order to grow, one sigh in order to satisfy the hunger, one total desire that my volition runs in all her being in order to form sufficient food so as to feel satiated by everything that belongs to her Creator. Highest attention is needed, and my will do everything that is needed in order to form its life in the creature. End of January 5th. Fiat.